Well, good morning and welcome to Willie's Firewood. I'm Russ. For all of you new guys that are showing up to the channel and checking everything out, appreciate having you along. Over here we got Captain Short Pants, aka Kevin. Say good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, everyone.
Kevin's loading up the arm of the Allwood. We're gonna go ahead and put a cord and a half on the dump trailer right there and go deliver. But let me show you what we just picked up this morning, about a quarter of a mile up the road. Now our cherry up here is not as pretty as the cherry that some of you folks have down south, but we got a half of a dump trailer load worth of free cherry, quarter mile up the road. So we drove Little Red up the road, picked it up, put it in the dump trailer, brought it back. But now we got to get to work. So I'm gonna throw you guys on the tripod. We'll do some splitting, and then we'll show you what we got when we're done. So you think it's hot?
Yep.
We just started though.
I know, it's hot.
Oh. All right, well, we got one load of this and then a load of short ends. Just one cord of short ends, half a trailer load.
Yep.
Think we can do it?
Yep.
All right. You ready to work?
Yep.
Yeah, all right. Me too, I guess. about 20-25 minutes. We've got half a load on there, which is about 3/4 of a cord. It doesn't take long with this Allwood Musclewood, but we've sprung a leak. I'll show you that in a minute too after we get done splitting, but I'm going to try to get this load going. Nothing major, just a little minor wear and tear. And there's a cord and a half on the trailer, actually a little over. We got a little carried away, but I'm not taking it off. So we'll go get this delivered, come back, and we got to put a load of short ends on. All right guys, so I told you before we left that we sprung a little leak with the Allwood. Let me show you what happened. I think the diaphragm on the pressure gauge let go. We'll get a new gauge for it in the morning, but I'll show you here. So you can see there's some hydraulic oil in there and it blew the plug out of the top. So I put a bag here just to keep stuff from dripping, and we'll get that changed out in the morning and get that taken care of, but it does not affect the way that it runs. Just makes a little bit of a mess, that's all. So I gotta go get a saw, and I gotta cut one of these oak logs off that's on the Cord King, and we're gonna run these few logs into the dump trailer to finish off a order and get that done. The customer wanted oak, so I'll show you what we got on the deck here, and if we need more I can throw more up there, but I think we've got plenty. So you saw a little red. That TYM 264 is an impressive little tractor. These are good size logs. So my hand's about 11 inches. So I'm gonna say that's about 18-inch diameter. Oak, picked it up, no problem, put it on there. So we've got 4 logs up there. We'll run these through and get them into the trailer, but let's cut the end off and get ready to roll. So Dave had elbow surgery and can't run his saw. So I've still got his 372, so we'll start the noisemaker up, make a couple of cuts real quick, and start getting this run through the processor. For a 15-year-old work saw, that's a pretty smart saw. So let's fire up this Cord King and let's make some oak. So there's the rest of the load of oak in there. Good looking stuff. And we got one stick left on the processor. Didn't need it. It was gonna be way too much. Again, little red. That little T264 is an impressive little tractor. Very, very impressive. So Gramps got some wood here and the cherry down back to get worked up in the morning. I'm sure he'll be over to cut, and I'll help him. I'm gonna dig through the pile some more. I'm gonna try to pull all the oak out, run the oak separate. We're gonna stack it and get it drying for the restaurant. There's a stick of oak here. I'll block that up, run it through the splitter. But we'll pick through this pile. There's still some pretty good sized stuff down in the bottom. There's another big stick of oak there. So we'll get all this stuff worked up, taken care of, and we'll try again. So I know 5.5 cords is not a little day, but it does what we need it to. That right there is a game changer. The more I run that small processor, the more I like it. I think ideally a tumbler after it, and you would have just about the nicest firewood that I think you're possibly going to be able to get. It runs well, it does a good job. It's, you know, one guy can be fairly efficient with it. It took me maybe 15 minutes to put a half a cord on the truck, maybe. Running good size oak, and it didn't struggle with the knots or any of that stuff. So a little bit every day goes a long way. Help someone if you can. Remember, tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going live, just like we do every Wednesday. We'll see you then, guys.